CCTV stops disaster relief after taking photos. Fujian victims. Government too excessive. Guilin flood disaster. Expert reveals secrets of 4 upstream reservoirs. Chengdu subway construction collapse. Residents evacuate urgently in the early morning. Shocking rise in sudden deaths among individuals in their 30s in China. CCP encourages citizens to donate organs. Experts warn caution. It's all covered in today's China Truths. CCTV stops disaster relief after taking photos. Fujian victims. Government too excessive. Several provinces and cities in China, especially Guangdong, Guangxi, and Fujian, have recently been struck by torrential and extreme rainfall. The continuous heavy rains combined with the release of water from reservoirs have resulted in floods several meters deep, leading to the evacuation of tens of thousands of people and significant losses for both residents and businesses. Fujian was severely impacted by these torrential rains. According to a report by CCTV on June 19, by 8 p.m., the disaster had resulted in at least 8 fatalities, affected 702,000 people, caused the collapse or severe damage of 4,490 houses, damaged 50.36 thousand hectares of crops, and led to direct economic losses of 9.84 billion yuan, about $1.4 billion. On June 20, CCP state media Xinhua published a series of photos depicting the relief efforts in Longyuan, Fujian. These included images of epidemic prevention efforts, delivery of water and food to the affected, clearance of debris from collapsed structures, and repairs to disrupted power supplies. However, a video surfaced the same day from a resident of Zhongqi Township in Longyuan, claiming that relief efforts ceased abruptly after a crew from state broadcaster CCTV completed their filming. Guilin residents scramble for food. Nangshan Hospital in Guilin was also affected by flooding and power outages. On June 20, significant flooding persisted at Nangshan Hospital, resulting in approximately 1,200 patients and medical staff being trapped, which led to a shortage of food. During the breakfast distribution that morning, the scarcity of food caused a large crowd of patients to gather, creating chaos at the scene. Nurses had to tightly hold on to the food to prevent it from being snatched away. Additionally, on Liuhe Road in Guilin, there was an incident where residents scrambled to collect food. Online videos showed the aftermath of the flooding, with the site left in chaos and residents picking through piles of food that had been soaked by the water. However, at these locations, not only were there no official CCP rescue personnel or supplies observed, but the staged photo opportunities also occurred again, as mentioned above, which led to dissatisfaction among the residents. What a society! What a time! The video that has spread online shows that after the floodwaters subsided, the streets of Zhongqi Town in Wupian County, Longyuan City, Fujian, were left in utter chaos. In the video, the frustration of the disaster victims intensifies. They eventually lose their composure and bitterly criticize the situation, saying, "Is this what they call disaster relief? We are in the most severely affected area of all. This is how they handle the situation. The government has gone too far. We cannot work at all inside, everything inside reeks. What a society! What a state of affairs!" Following the release of the video critiquing the response, numerous netizens made sarcastic remarks. Many of the official media journalists should not be considered journalists but rather scriptwriters and directors. In this country, disaster victims have become mere props for staged photos, and disaster relief has become a show. This situation closely resembles last year's near Bazhou, in Hebei. Some say bluntly, the authorities are now degenerating. Has anyone heard of Xi Jinping personally visiting disaster-hit areas? This neglect starts from the top, and now that local finances are essentially bankrupt, how can they possibly allocate funds for disaster relief? Disaster situation in other places. According to CCTV News, nearly 100,000 people were impacted by heavy rains in Jiaoling County and Meixian District of Meizhou City, Guangdong Province, resulting in at least 9 deaths and 6 missing individuals. As of 4 p.m. on June 20, the disaster in Jiaoling County, Meizhou City, affected 64,947 people, resulting in 5 deaths and 2 individuals missing, with an estimated direct economic loss of about 3.65 billion yuan, about $502.6 million USD. In Meixian District, Meizhou City, the disaster affected over 32,000 people, with 4 deaths and 4 missing. The disaster caused the collapse or damage of over 5,800 buildings and impacted more than 1,500 hectares of agricultural land, leading to direct economic losses of approximately 1.063 billion yuan, about $146.4 million USD. According to a report by Wenweipa on June 21, as of 6:30 a.m., nearly 210,000 people in Huangshan City, Anhui Province, were affected. Emergency relocation was initiated for 12,424 people, and 11,581 required urgent life support. Agricultural crops over an area of 10,955.79 hectares were damaged, 27 households with 55 buildings collapsed, 46 households with 76 buildings suffered severe damage, and 610 households with 950 buildings were generally damaged, 42 roads were cut off, resulting in direct economic losses of over 500 million yuan, nearly $69 million US. Due to the flooding, many areas in Huangshan faced water and power outages, with villagers in Gaojing village reporting numerous houses swept away and many people missing. Both Senkan Township and Shaolian Township experienced no electricity, no internet, and no signal due to down high-voltage lines. It is forecasted that heavy rainfall will continue in Huangshan. Guilin flood disaster, expert reveals secrets of 4 upstream reservoirs. Amid claims by officials that Guilin City in Guangxi Province has faced the worst flood in 30 years, causing the suspension of operations at Guilin train station, Wang Weiluo, a hydraulic expert residing in Germany, has revealed that the 4 upstream reservoirs of Guilin have actually lost their flood control capabilities. In detail, Mr. Wang stated that according to China's urban planning and design, Guilin train station's flood control standards should withstand a once-in-100 years flood, but this waterlogging unexpectedly caused the train station to suspend operations. Therefore, it's not just the design of this train station that is problematic, but the entire city's flood control facilities. Many local residents believe that the flooding of Guilin's urban area was mainly due to the discharge from the upstream reservoirs. CCTV cited the deputy director of the Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters of the Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region, Zhou Yunkui, who said, according to his understanding from the Ministry of Water Resources, the main reason was that the upstream reservoirs were already full, passively releasing as much water as was incoming. The main upstream reservoirs include Qingshirtan, Fuzikou, Xiaorongjiang, and Chuanjiang, with Qingshirtan being relatively large. Mr. Wang claims that these 4 reservoirs are unsafe. On the surface, they claim to prevent a once-in-100 years flood, but now these are only capable of handling a once-in-20 years flood. Why not just block it? These reservoirs were built during the Great Leap Forward mainly for agricultural irrigation. After the economic reforms, as Guilin's tourism industry developed, the reservoirs' functions changed to serve the tourism industry. The local government has realized that Guilin's landscape is peerless, and we can't have fluctuating water levels. It would ruin the scenery, so they use the upstream reservoirs to control the discharge, maintaining the water level of the Li River downstream in Yangshuo County. They believe this preserves natural beauty. So now, these 4 reservoirs are primarily tasked with this role, and their flood control function has essentially diminished. The hydraulic expert analyzed, on the other hand, after Xi Jinping took office, he implemented a system where each reservoir has 3 managers responsible for its safety. However, the reservoir staff are only provided with a basic salary by the state. Any additional bonuses must be earned through the reservoir's operations. Thus, according to Mr. Wang, all reservoir managers in China now just aim to profit from the reservoirs, to earn the wages for their employees below them. That is their sole goal. They are reluctant to discharge water because once they do, they lose a tool for making money. They can sell the water, and if they maintain the water level of the Li River, the local tourism board will pay them. So, they are unwilling to release water, but if it rains heavily and the water level rises rapidly, they must release water immediately for the safety of their reservoir and themselves. Mr. Wang has stated that the Chinese Communist Party has constructed numerous reservoirs in the Guangxi area. Some of these projects have elevated the flood levels in the region, resulting in frequent occurrences of both water and drought disasters. While some academics attribute these to natural disasters, if one peels back the layer of natural disasters, it becomes apparent that they are in fact man-made disasters. These incidents exemplify the CCP's ideology of man conquers nature. Chengdu subway construction collapse, residents evacuate urgently in the early morning. At around 3 a.m. on June 21, a massive collapse occurred at a subway station under construction in Chengdu, Sichuan. Videos and photos circulated online showed a substantial hole, revealing a completely hollow space beneath. Alarmingly, this collapse occurred just slightly over 1 meter away from a high-rise residential building nearby. This incident resulted in the urgent evacuation of residents during the early morning hours. Some evacuees have been accommodated in hotels. After the collapse, Chengdu Rail Transit Construction issued a statement claiming that the incident was triggered by the natural bursting of 2 municipal water pipes, which led to the road collapsing over a 12-meter stretch. In contrast, the Chengdu Water Supply Company issued a notice attributing the cost to the settling of the foundation at the subway construction site, which they claim resulted in the breakage and leakage of 300 of their pipes. This has led to a blame game between the two entities. In reaction, mainland netizens have expressed skepticism and irony in their online comments, such as, "Is the road surface thinner than a cracker? Has the underground of Chengdu been hollowed out?" One cautions that the enormity of that hole must be most frightening for the neighboring residents. It's scary, and there is a pressing need for a thorough investigation of the cause. Shocking rise in sudden deaths among individuals in their 30s in China. Recently in China, there has been a notable increase in sudden deaths among celebrities, with these incidents involving increasingly younger individuals. The public is increasingly concerned that these deaths may be linked to the pandemic. In detail, a report from the paper on June 21, 2024, stated that at 9:36 a.m., Zhang Xiang, a police officer of the Chaohu Municipal Public Security Bureau in Anhui Province, and a member of the Chinese Communist Party, suddenly suffered a cardiac arrest and died despite resuscitation efforts, at the age of 38. As reported by the News Morning Post, Wang Guangchao, a member of the Shanghai Blue Sky Rescue Team, died from a sudden heart attack while on duty on June 15. He was only 35 years old. Additionally, on June 12, 2024, the Beijing Extreme Sports Association announced the death of Zhang Lei, its vice president and president of the Parkour Committee, as well as the founder of Extreme Dream Parkour and a significant advocate for parkour in China. He passed away from an incurable heart disease that morning, at the age of 39. Zhang Lei was also renowned for being the dedicated stunt double for martial artist Donnie Yen, collaborating on numerous films and TV projects including Bodyguards and Assassins, Legend of the Fist, The Return of Qin Zhen, The Monkey King 3D, the TV series The Legend of Shaolin Temple 3, among others. The frequency of sudden deaths due to heart disease in China has been rising, particularly among younger individuals. Rumors persist online suggesting a connection between these deaths and COVID-19. This year, the pandemic situation in China has intensified, but authorities have prohibited doctors from attributing deaths to COVID-19 and have banned public discussions on the pandemic. NTD reported that recently, numerous hospitals in China are once again overwhelmed with fever patients, noting a surge in sudden deaths among young and middle-aged adults, including police officers and doctors. On the 18th, a villager from a Beijing suburb told NTD reporters that over the last 1 to 2 months, there have been significantly more cases of cerebral and cardiac infarctions compared to previous years. In our village, people from their 30s to their 70s, who were previously healthy, suddenly died. We've also seen 3 or 4 cases of lung cancer, and the funeral home is busier than usual, doing about twice as much business as before. One resident from Hanzhong, Shaanxi Province, shared with NTD reporters that several people suddenly collapsed and never got up again, ranging from their 30s to their 60s, without any apparent illnesses. The doctors said they suffered from either cardiac or cerebral infarction. It's peculiar, and although everyone understands what's happening, there's nothing we can do about it. CCP encourages citizens to donate organs, experts warn caution. Recently, multiple departments including the National Health Commission of the Chinese Communist Party and the National Development and Reform Commission have collectively issued guidelines titled Opinions on Promoting the Healthy Development of Human Organ Donation Work. These guidelines encourage citizens to sign voluntary agreements for organ donation. Piero Tazzi, who is the chief of staff and a lawyer at the Congressional Executive Commission on China, CCC, has expressed to the Epoch Times that people in China should be extremely careful when agreeing to donate their organs. He points to the persistent issue of illegal organ harvesting in the country as a reason for caution. Tazzi refers to an article in the American Journal of Transplantation, which he finds quite compelling. This piece reviews medical studies on organ transplantation in China found in 71 Chinese scientific publications. The studies indicate that organs were extracted from patients before they were officially declared brain dead, which breaches the widely accepted international norms of the dead donor rule. This suggests that surgeons and other medical staff in China have historically played the role of executioners under the direction of the Communist Party. Tazzi underscores his belief in the existence of unlawful organ harvesting practices in China, advising that anyone should think very carefully before signing any documents related to organ donation, under any circumstances. In a further discussion on the 21st with Sound of Hope, Dr. Yang Guiyuan, a former lecturer at the Military Supply University of the People's Liberation Army, explained that if you sign, it's likely they will proceed to check your blood type and evaluate your physical condition. Essentially, this means your information is recorded, and they could potentially harvest organs on demand, which facilitates criminal activity. Signing this document poses even greater risks. Dr. Yang continued to explain that once you are included in their database, the Chinese Communist Party, which is very evil, can match your details and then potentially kill you. They might disguise the act as a traffic accident or some other type of accidental death. Although this might sound like an exaggeration, such incidents have already occurred in China. Numerous individuals have vanished under mysterious circumstances, with their organs gone. Previously, if you refrained from signing their forms, the CCP faced difficulties explaining the origins of the organs they used. Now, by signing, you inadvertently grant them the overt license to commit these acts. On June 22, 2016, David Kilger, the former director for the Asia-Pacific region in Canada, along with David Mattis, an international human rights lawyer, presented the latest findings from their investigation into the CCP's practice of forcibly harvesting human organs. They reported that in the past 15 years, around 1.5 million organ transplants were performed in China, mostly with organs taken from Falun Gong practitioners. Falun Gong is a spiritual practice, based on the core principles of truthfulness, compassion, forbearance. The practice originated in Changchun, China in 1992 and quickly became widely popular. On July 20, 1999, the Chinese Communist Party, under the rule of Jiang Zemin, initiated a brutal and systematic persecution aimed at eradicating Falun Gong practitioners. In the 25 years since this persecution began, an immeasurable number of Falun Gong practitioners have been illegally detained and subsequently vanished, and their families have never heard from them again. Chen Guangcheng, a Chinese human rights activist now residing in the United States, conveyed to Epoch Times that the Chinese Communist Party regards the Chinese populace as a resource to be exploited, akin to harvesting crops. Whenever they decide to strip you of your possessions, life, or organs, they will proceed without hesitation. He noted that numerous individuals who leave for work end up missing, and the numbers are staggeringly high. He emphasized that the disappearance of living individuals in China is not an isolated incident and that conducting illegal organ transplants requires the involvement of an extensive national system, not just a few doctors or clinics. Chen advises against complying with any demands made by the CCP. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.